Hey, poker people, thank you so much for tuning in to the companion video to podcast episode number 185. So in that podcast, I answered 3 questions, and one of them was from Michelle right here. She said, "Hi Sky, was wondering if you could go into the stats more and what they mean in the HUD I bought. Anything would be useful. I've watched the video that came with the HUD. Thanks in advance, Michelle." So in that podcast, I gave a good answer about, frequencies, percentages, combo counts, all that kind of stuff. I talked about various stats and everything. But I can do one better than with that podcast, just with the audio form. In this video, using the visuals, using some software, I'm going to show you how to fish for statistical information yourself. I'm not just going to give you the fish. I'm not going to tell you exactly what VPIP and the various percentages of VPIP or 3-bets or Cbets mean. No. I'm going to show you how to use some very specific software to help you figure out those stats for yourself. And that software will be Poker Tracker 4 and Flopzilla. And we'll be recording everything with Excel, of course. Now, what I'd recommend is as we go through this, follow along with Flopzilla or Equilab for yourself. You basically want to use any kind of equity calculating software that gives you range percentages as well as combo counts, because combo counts are kind of, they're very important to really understanding percentages and frequencies. And that's what the statistics give you here. So what she talked about when she said she bought the HUD, she bought my smart HUD. And this is a picture of the smart HUD right here. If you want the HUD for yourself, you can go to smartpokerstudy.com/smarthud to purchase it. But so we'll just go section by section here within the HUD. Now, the top line has the note editor, the number of hands, VPIP and PFR right next to each other, fold to steal, and then fold big blind to small blind steal. That's the top line. Now let's take a look at 2 different pre-flop sections of the HUD. This section right here in the center on the left is raise first in, and then raise, then fold to a 3-bet, then we've got 4-bet next to it. Below that is the other pre-flop section. Call pre-flop 2-bet, and then 3-bet pre-flop. Over here, I've got the Cbet section. So Cbet the flop, Cbet the turn, and bet river percentage. I find that bet river is a little bit more useful than Cbetting the river. And then right down here is the fold to bet section. Fold to flop Cbet, fold to turn Cbet, and then fold to river bet. Just bet in general. Could be a donk, could be a float, whatever it might be. So that's how the HUD breaks down. Now, I could have taken the time and given Michelle and all of you the fish and say, hey, VPIP between these ranges mean these things. PFR between these ranges mean these things. But that's just too boring, and that's like giving you the fish. I'd rather teach you how to eat for life. So I'm going to show you how to fish. So follow along with Flopzilla as we do this stuff, and you're going to see me using it as well. Bam, Flopzilla time, baby. Okay, so first off here, percentages can be a part of a 1326 combo hole. Well, actually, I should go back to it. Percentages are first are part of a hole. And now out of 100 is key. If I tell you that somebody, bets on the flop 30% of the times, that means 3 out of every 100 times they bet on the flop. That's what percentages are, just out of 100. Now, in poker and all of these various statistics, we're actually talking about the percentage as a part of a 1326 combo hole. Let me show you what that is. If you add up all the different hole cards that you can be dealt in Hold'em, it comes up to 1326 combos right there, made of all these different things. 6 combos of pocket aces, you could see 6 down there. 6 combos of 10-6 suited, 4 combos of 10-6 suited down there, and 12 combos of king-8 offsuit. So every offsuit hand, there's 12 ways to make it. Every pair, 6 ways, and every suited, 4 ways right there. Add them all together, you have 100% or 1326 combos. So the pairs, the suited, the offsuit hands, what part of the whole do they make? The offsuit hands make up 936 combos. The suited hands make up 312 combos. And then the pairs make up 78. Let's just double check my math. Bam, 78 combos right there. Now, these are all the combos. As you can see, the total is 1326. I guess you can't see it. Let's move this down. There it is. 1326 combos is the sum total for those right there. Now, as a whole, or as a percentage, of the whole, all the pocket pairs If you divide 78 divided by 1326, make up only 6% of hands. Not too many at all. 24% of hands are suited, and then offsuit make up 71% of hands right there. Altogether, this adds up to 100%. So that's the first example. The percentages all equate to a 1300, not equate, are all a part of a 1326 combo whole. Now let's look at just VPIP, for example. Our player right here has a 30% VPIP. But let's take a look at what 100 and a 50 and what a 10% VPIP mean, just so you could see where the percentages lie. So 100% VPIP means that they're VPIPing. They're voluntarily putting money in the pot with any two cards 100% of the time, 1326 combos. That's crazy if somebody actually does that. Like, do I ever put money with ace, 8 deuce, 7 deuce, 7-3, and 8-3 offsuit? Probably not. I mean, if somebody's playing 100%, they are a super loose player. Now let's take a look at a 50% range. I'm not going to be exact. We're just going to bet, push the slider over to 50%. Now 50%, that's quite a wide range right here. I mean, I hardly ever find myself VPIPing with 6-4, 7-5, 8-6, 9-7, even 5-4 offsuit. I hardly ever VPIP with these bad boys right down here. But that's what a 50% range look like. It's very wide. I don't play that wide at all. Now let's go down to the other extreme, 10%. A very tight range right here. 10%. Actually, let's put in all pocket pairs. Let's drop some of this stuff right here. And maybe there is a 10% range. So if somebody's playing only 10% of the hands, they're pretty darn nitty. They've got the 6% pocket pairs and then some offsuits and then some suited hands to build up to that 10% range here. So those are how we can take a look at the various ranges. So if you're just presented with, oh, this opponent has a 30% VPIP, this opponent has a 25%. Let's just look at what 30% is real quick, just to build it out. 30% or so. Looks good. I play with a lot of these hands. If I'm playing with some of this stuff, I'm probably actually also going with all this offsuit stuff. And these aces are much better than these offsuit nines. I'm probably ditching those. If we take out one or two more hands, we're at 30% right there. So there's an average 30% range. This might be on average what this player decides to VPIP with all of these hands. So now let's take a look at a 20% cutoff open raising range. Let's say that we know that he pre-flop raises 25% of the time, but in the cutoff, it's only 20% range. So now this 20% range right here, let's scoot this over a little bit. Good. Now, the other time percentages, they can be part of your range as a whole. So this player's open raising range in the cutoff is 20%. This is now their new whole that we're thinking about. When they open raise pre-flop, they can fold to a 3-bet. They can call a 3-bet. And then, of course, they can 4-bet. Altogether, those three options after they raise, that adds up to 100% of their possible reactions to facing a 3-bet. So what hands is this player actually 4-betting with? This is probably the easiest right here. And we're just going to do simple. We're not going to try to really dive into this player stats and really figure things out. I just want to show you some basics. So if there are 4-betting, what hands are likely 4-betting? Let's just give them these right here. Nice and simple. 2.56%, 34 combos right here. Great. So far, if their range only consists of the 34 combos, they're 4-betting 100% of the time. But we know that they're calling and folding with some stuff as well. Put this back. Let's remove their 4-betting hands. Now, what hands is this player calling a 3-bet with? Well, oftentimes people call with the ace-queen offsuit. Maybe the king-queen offsuit and ace-jack. Let's just keep those in just for a good first look here. People are often folding deuces through sixes. We can remove those. Maybe they're folding some of these weaker ones. The ace deuce suited, let's say that they maybe like to call with some of the kind of to the stronger side of things. Maybe they'll be folding these, and let's say they'll call with jack 10. Okay, so let's just assign this as their calling range. We don't need to be super exact right now. This just gives us a rough idea of what they're calling, which is 102 combos. So of course now they are folding the rest of the combos, right? Because their only options are to 4-bet or to call or to fold. The other part of the time equals 266 starting combos minus 102 minus 34. Bam, 130 combos they're folding. Now we can see this player folds to 3-bet 54. That's pretty close to that number that we assigned right now. So that's another way to look at percentages right here. They can be part of your range as a whole, as opposed to the 1,326 combos as the whole right there. Cool beans. Let's move on to some actual statistical analysis from two very important stats that we look at in almost every single hand we play when we're considering what our opponents are doing. So the first stat that we want to look at is VPIP and then 3-bet. So a VPIP at 30%. We built that out earlier, but let's build that again. And we don't need to be exact. Let's just say that this is what we feel a 30% 3-bet range is. This is one thing that I recommend that you do. If you aren't super familiar with this kind of stuff, take a screenshot, build out various ranges, take a screenshot of it, and then save it. Let's say you had one 8x5 sheet of paper with all these various VPIP percentages on it, starting at 10, and then 15, and then 25, and then 30, and then 40, various percentages. When you're on the felt and actually facing an opponent who VPIPs at 25%, you could take a look at the sheet. 25%, oh, this is about the range they play. I'm holding this hand. You know, my hand plays pretty well against this range. I'm going to call. You can do that kind of stuff when you are playing online off the felt. So I recommend doing something like this for all the various VPIPs all the way up until maybe like 50% or so. 3-betting at 7%. What does that look like? So if we're trying to build a 3-bet range, you always want to start with the strongest hands, of course. And we'll build this one out instead of using the slider down here. You often see 10s or greater in a 3-bet range totally. Ace King, oftentimes. I often see Ace Queen and King Queen suited from my opponents. Sometimes I'll see 9s in there. So, and then Ace Queen offsuit gets 3-bet as well. Now, this is kind of almost a standard 3-bet range. You know, for most players, if they don't exactly have a really good reason to 3-bet, they might be 3-betting something like this. We can remove this and this, right? But, you know, we'll often see about a 4%. But what we want to do is build to a 3% range because, as you can see, our opponent right here 3-bets to 7%. Let's put those hands back in. And let's see if we can't get it to 7% in some form or fashion. If they 3-bet Ace Queen off, probably Ace Jack suited. Oftentimes, I see opponents betting Ace 10 suited. Now, Ace 10 suited is pretty good because that 10 kicker, it out kicks any Ace 9 through Ace Deuce that's calling. And then, of course, Ace 10 gives you straight potential, gives you nut flush draw potential, all that kind of stuff. So you often see opponents 3-betting with that. Now, if they're 3-betting Ace 10 suited or better, they might 3-bet the Ace Jack offsuit. And then right there, look at that, pretty nice. We're at 7%. Let's just consider this a 7% range. Take a screenshot. Once again, you can do this kind of thing. Actually, I'll put the 7% in. Do this kind of thing for every time you are facing a 3-bet. Create your own 3-bet sheet of ranges. So when you're facing this opponent and then you decide you're thinking about open raising and you say, oh, his 3-bet is 7%. What does that mean? I guess he could 3-bet with these. I think my pocket jacks is good enough to open here. If he 3-bets, I can call because I'm crushing all of these random aces in his range. You know, so you can make another sheet with all these 3-bet percentages. Now, when it comes to the question of I do not understand what this statistic means, what is going on here? There's a very easy way to figure this out. You're basically going to go to Poker Tracker 4. Let's bring that out here. Now, in Poker Tracker 4, if you go to Configure and Statistics, this is where if you need to find out what any statistic means, this is where you go. So the first one is VPIP. You simply type it in right here, and then all the different stats with the VPIP term will pop up in it. Click on VPIP. Oh, percent of the time the player voluntarily contributed money to the pot, given that he had a chance to do so. And then there's the formula. What I did was I copied and pasted it earlier, and then bam, there's the definition, there's the formula. I did the same thing for 3-bet. All you'd have to do, 3-bet here, 3-betty. 3-bet and 3-bet pre-flop. There it is. If you want to figure out what a 3-bet steal is, oh, there it is. I see percentage of the time that a player 3-bet when in a blind facing an open raise from a steal position. Nice. So that's how you do it. If you want to figure out what the stats mean, there it is in that page. Now, what are the different ranges? So, you know, people talk about, oh, his 3-bet is really low. He's an average 3-better. He 3-bets way too much. But what are those percentages? You have no idea if you're just now learning about HUDs and stats and whatnot. Let's see if we can't figure this out for ourselves. So we're going to clear this. We're going to start with a VPIP right here. Now, we'll just simply, actually, yeah, let's just do this. Let's put in every pocket pair. And now let's look at the tightest of players. What do you think they raise with on the button? Let's consider it on the button. Well, a very tight player will probably raise every single pocket pair. Maybe they'll limp in with these ones, but let's just say they're going to raise because those tight players know that raising is more profitable than limping. So they're raising with all these. Of course, they're raising with these bad boys. These bad boys too. Let's go with these ones too because, you know, people aren't going to limp in with king queen, nor are they going to fold king queen, right? If it's folded to you on the button, you're going to be raising these. So the tightest of players are going to be playing those. They'll probably raise with all of the suited broadways. That feels pretty good. Now these ones are often, they feel pretty weak to a lot of people. So let's not put those in a really tight range for somebody. Actually we can because people do raise with them. Ace 10 offsuit, yeah, maybe they won't raise with these. Maybe 10-9 suited. Let's say that this is a very tight range. So if somebody opens below this, they're ultra tight. Let's say they don't open that stuff. Ultra tight player. Put those back in. What are we looking at here? We're looking at a 15.5. Let's just round it to 15% range. Nice and simple. So a low range right here would be 0 to 15%, right? If somebody only raises with this stuff, they're a pretty tight player in general. Now, let's see what a medium middle of the road player raises with on the button. Well, they'll probably raise with all these aces. We can tack in all of these aces as well. They might go as far as every single Broadway. All this other offsuit stuff is pretty ugly. They might raise some of these occasionally depending on the blinds, but let's just say in general, they stay away from all this stuff. Let's do all the suited nines for sure. Let's definitely add some suited connectors and gappers down to 6-5. That feels pretty good. I've often seen players, even the tight aggressive ones, raising king 8 and king 7 suited. Maybe queen 8. Let's put all the 8s in there because they do have some straight potential as well. And so let's say this right here is a medium of the road, the top end of a medium of the road open raiser, you know. So the middle range is up to 32%. Whoops. 15 to 32%. And of course, high would be 32% or 32% plus right there. Now, let's think about what kind of player types these are. People who VPIP at greater than 32%, who are putting in all these suited kings, suited queens, jacks, 10s, offsuit hands and stuff, they're likely lags or maniacs, right? They just play a ton of hands. They love putting it in, or they're whales or fish, you know, they're calling stations. They love to see flops. They'll limp with anything. These are the players that VPIP a heck of a lot. Now, the medium range would probably be your tags, maybe your nit players. And the down here who VPIP very infrequently are nitty players as well. So without even really, without somebody telling me what these ranges mean, we just kind of built out ranges, looked at them, took a look at the strength of the various ranges to give range, I use the word again, to give ranges for the various low, medium, and high percentages that somebody can have here. Now, this isn't set in stone, right? Everything is shades of gray. We just don't really know. I might think that 0 to 15 is a nitty percentage, but you might think 0 to 10 is. Great, so be it. Whatever helps you make your good decisions, whatever helps me make my good decisions. There's no cut and dry right and wrong when it comes to ranging and assessing how often players are playing and what kind of player types they are. Because as you know, lags, they can VPIP 50% of hands, they can VPIP 30% of hands. Maniacs can VPIP 75% of hands. And whales, maybe even 100% of hands. They limp 100% of the time. You never know. So there's a range to everything. Nothing is set in stone, cut and dry, set in stone. So that's VPIP. Let's take a look at 3-bet now. Now, the reason why I chose these is VPIP can range anywhere from 0 to 100%. You see players all through there. 3-bet, on the other hand, you really only see them from 0% up to maybe 15% max. Sometimes you'll find a 17 and 20% VPIPper on 3-better. Those are the crazy maniacs right there for sure. So let's figure out the ranges for 3-bets. Now, if somebody 3-bets strictly for value, aces, kings, and queens, right? But oftentimes you are going to find players who will throw in the ace, kings right there and the pocket jacks. This is a very common, maybe nitty or even a whale-ish kind of 3-betting range. So we can say 3% is on the low side of things. 0 to 3 right there. So medium is going to be 3 to something. Let's take a look at what that is. Actually, we kind of built it earlier. Let's see if we can't build up to that medium range right here. So if a tight aggressive player wants to 3-bet more, but they don't want to throw in too many bluffs, they're just kind of 3-betting just on the cusp of going from value to not value. Whoops. 10s and 9s make total sense right there. Ace queen as well, ace jack, ace 10, ace queen, ace jack, and king queen suited, we can say. And you know, I'm really happy with that, saying that that is a the high end of a value range right here, or the high end of a medium 3-better. So I'm going to say 3 to 7%. There we go. And then of course 7% or greater would be a very aggressive 3-better. Now it's very hard to say that king queen off can be a value 3-bet. That means if king queen off is a value 3-bet, that means somebody is coming in and calling with king jack, king 10, and king 9 offsuit, or queen jack or jack 10. Not really too often. Ace 10 offsuit being a value hand, maybe not. This really is right on the cusp. This is as value as you get right here, the maximum. Anything beyond this, if you start adding this kind of stuff, start adding these, you're getting opponents who are most likely not calling with much worse than 6s. You're not going for value. You've started to add some bluffs to your range. So anything over 7% can be the bluffy stuff right here. Now, who has a 3-bet over 7%? Lags can, of course. Tag as well. Maniacs for sure. Might be able to hear my dog barking in the backyard right there. And the players that are 3-betting from 3 to 7%, probably lags. Tags as well can be doing it. Sometimes nits, you'll find them 3-betting right there. They understand the power of aggression, so they use it and 3-bet a little bit wider. And the down here would be nits and whales, of course, too, because whales, they like to VPip, they like to see a lot of flops, but they don't like to get so aggressive without the nuts or near nuts, right? So they're only 3-betting a very small percentage of the time. Right there. So great. That's how you can, just using Flopzilla and kind of, you know, just using your logic centers, looking at hands, looking at ranges, is kind of determining what is value, what is not value, what is high, what is low. You can figure out this range stuff for yourself right here. Oh, and then one thing I'd like to show you would be color coding. Now, the way I do things, anything that's kind of a nitty, like a nitty range, I make red. So color coding for these stats, oh, I shouldn't do that right there. Put it red right here. Lags and or the middle of the road, I often color code it yellow. And then the high end stuff, the people that just do it way too often, I'll give it the green color coding. That's my basic color coding. I'll do the same thing here for VPip as well. Now let's take a look at one more thing. We are going post flop. So understanding the Cbet percentage. So if we take a look, should have brought this one over here. Cbetting at 67, then it drops to 58% right here. When it comes to Cbet stats, and the definition and formulas are right there. When it comes to Cbet, it doesn't look at, you know, the whole. When it comes to Cbet percentages, the whole isn't 1,326 hands. The whole is what you get to the flop with. So earlier, we took a look at a 266, 20% cutoff open raising range. We'll look at that again right here. Alrighty, so we want to determine high, medium, and then low percentages for when it comes to C-betting at the flop. So now, if a player is C-betting only the, you know, the top pair or better, open-ended straight draws or better, and then some of the better combo draws, they're only C-betting 35% of the time. Let's say they don't want to C-bet their overpairs or their open-enders. They're only C-betting 21% of the time. That's pretty darn low. That is a super flop honest player. If you ever encounter somebody with a 21% C-bet on the flop, you want to call every single one of their raises in position. So they raise from the cutoff, you want to call on the button. They raise in the MP, you want to call the cutoff or call on the button. As soon as they check that flop, fire any bet because they're folding. They only C-bet 21% of the time. They C-bet with the goods right here, right? So let's take a look at this. This is what I would say to be the low end, 0 to 35%. Would be the low end of a C-better. They only C-bet for value, right? Now, a medium end C-better. With this 20% range, let's say the medium end C-better, they bet the pocket pairs below top pair. Let's say they open pre-flop with pocket jacks. The flop comes ace, 7, 3. So on this flop, sure, they have a pocket pair below top pair. They're hoping you didn't call with an ace. They bet their pocket jacks, and then you fold your king queen or your pocket eights or your pocket fours, whatever you had that didn't connect with the board. So medium c-betters, they will often c-bet with those pocket pairs below. Middle pairs as well, and weak pairs. They will be betting that kind of stuff. What you'll often see them, and they'll bet those combo draws as well, right there. And then you'll often see, because they have some kind of a draw, they'll bet those gut shots too, And this is oftentimes what I am betting. Occasionally, if I know that the player folds a lot, I'll be betting ace highs or no made hands or even overcards. Like I could c-bet 100% of the time if I know that my opponent folds to flop c-bets 70% of the time. Then it's profitable with all my bluffs, all my weekends to be betting. But this, I would say, is a middle of the road c-better right here, between 35 and 65%. And then 65% plus. So we could say this player, c-betting at 67%, is right on the cusp of high. It's not too high. He's kind of controlling his c-betting. So he's not too crazy with it. Sometimes you'll see maniacs who c-bet 70, 80% of the time. Those are the guys that you can check raise a lot. You can check call with your value hands, and then when they lead the turn again, then raise them. All kinds of plays you can make based on what percentages they give you. Now, we can see that this player c-bets on the flop 67, and it drops to 58 on the turn. It's not that big of a drop from 67 to 58%, but you'll sometimes see players who c-bet the flop 67, and then turn, they'll c-bet like 35%. These are turn honest players. They only c-bet when they have on the turn. Let's give a random flop, lock the flop in a random turn. So they'll only c-bet here with like top pair or better, and some of the best draws is what they're getting. Oh no, that's 63%, my bad. Let's do that right there. Top pair, bam, 41% of the time. If he's c-betting the turn 35%, it's something like this, a very narrow range here. These are turn honest players. You can get to the turn against them, and as soon as they check, you lead out with a bet and take the pot down as a bluff right there. Or if you've got a crazy value hand and they decide to c-bet on the turn, great. You can raise, expect a call or re-raise, and get their full stack. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Send me an email to sky@smartpokerstudy.com. You can get the Smart HUD for yourself by going to smartpokerstudy.com/smarthud. And thank you very much for watching this video. And now get out there, and I highly do recommend creating your own Excel spreadsheet with all this kind of information for any kind of stat that you encounter that you start to study upon. The more of this kind of work you do, the more it's going to inform your poker skills and your in-game decision making. If you understand these stats more, you're going to be exploiting your opponents even more, bringing in the buku bucks, the big profits. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side.